At about what age do you think parents can start instilling the infinite way in a child? 5 minutes after conception. And that's the only time to begin, unless you don't hear about it until later. Because right at that moment it becomes necessary to know that man is not a creator and that no child is beginning its life. The life of that child is God, and it is infinite and spiritual and eternal, and it had its beginning before Abraham was, and it's going to continue living unto the end of time. It coexists with God, and it is not subject to mortal beliefs about human conception or human birth. It is not confined to a mortal or material body. It is not under the laws of matter. It exists as the unfolding of God consciousness, and that means an infinite, eternal, and harmonious consciousness, not subject to human beliefs, medical theories, or theological theories. That's the time to begin to teach the child, and by the time the child comes out into the world, it will be almost illumined, because it will have been separated from the limiting world beliefs. And then from the time that it begins its outside experience, the truth of being should be known to that child, because here's what we fail to understand. We brought this out in the class today. If we here were to meet once a day for a year, do you know what would happen to us? You, as well as me? We'd all be so much more illumined a year from now than we are this minute that there'd be no fooling about it. Just 1 hour a day for a year, and the spiritual power that would be flowing in and through us, from one of us to another, would be so great that so far as we are concerned, sin, disease, poverty would never enter our consciousness anymore. It would be so ruled out that we wouldn't any more think of it than we would think of earning a living by stealing it. It just wouldn't be a part of our makeup. Sin wouldn't be, disease wouldn't be. It wouldn't be a part of our conscious thought at all. 1 year of this kind of a meeting once a day would rule it all out of us, and we'd so love God and the things of God that we love each other for the ability to share it with each other. Why is that true? Well, if I be lifted up, I shall draw all men unto me. And so wherever there is 1 or 2 or 3 of us here with a degree of spiritual illumination, all those who have brought themselves into this aura or vibration or consciousness, whatever word you want to use, will partake of it. And now let me tell you something about the child. You may think that the child doesn't know what's going on in the home, or what you're thinking, or what the father is thinking. Don't make any mistake. Don't make any mistake. There was a telephone call back here just before we came on the platform. A child was screaming with agony, a little baby. Mother couldn't tell why. For an hour this child had been screaming. Why? The father's out drunk and the mother's sitting there worried about it. You think that child, that baby doesn't know it? Shh! Don't kid yourself. That child is a part of the consciousness of its parents. It may not be in the womb, but it's in the consciousness of those parents, and it knows just what's going on there, and it's subject unto it. And just the same, when you go into an office of a person imbued with the Christ, you feel a lightness and a release. You go into an office of a person laden down with fear and disease, and you'll go out feeling a burden on your shoulder. You can't help it, because you've made yourself a part of their consciousness, and you partake of it. You come into this room when there is spiritual teaching going on, you can't help taking on part of the nature of the spirituality that is being expressed. And you keep it up long enough, and you'll find it's enveloped your whole being and your whole body. The same with children. Children do not have to be taught. I've said this over and over again, that there is no harm in Sunday school, but the amount of good is limited, for the simple reason that you as an adult, or I as an adult, could not learn spiritual truth in 1 hour in a week, even if we were taught it properly. And the average Sunday school child is not taught it properly because there aren't that many good Sunday school teachers. Now then, if they were, however, that 1 hour a week would make very little impression on that child's mind. What counts in that child's mind is 7 days a week in the home. And if the mother is continuously berating the child, if the mother is continuously instilling fear, you must eat this because it's good for you, and you mustn't cross the street because it's bad for you, and you mustn't talk to strangers, because by the time that parent gets through with the child's a nervous wreck, and it's a wonder that it trusts anything in the world. You remember in one of our manuscripts I told the story of the parent that took the child out on the street and had him jump from the first step, and the father caught the child, and he put the child on the second step and said jump, and the father caught the child. He put the child on the third step and said jump, and he let the child fall. And the child started to cry, and he says, you see, never trust anybody, not even your father. Well, that child got a very concrete lesson in not trusting. But see the opposite effect if the parent, without any direct teaching, has a confidence in the invisible powers of spirit and lets their child eat what the child's appetite wants it to eat, not because it's good, not because it's bad, but because the only power in the food is the power of God. Or the parent that lets the child go out on the street saying, I'm not letting you out on the street, I'm letting you out in God, or sends the child to school saying, I'm not sending you to school, I'm sending you out in God, and so forth and so on. The parent, in its confidence in the infinite invisible, transmits it through consciousness to the child, even without a Sunday school lesson, even without anything but their own example. Just as that child growing up and witnessing quarrels between the parents. You don't mean to tell me you think that Sunday school is going to teach that child anything about love? No. 7 days a week it's got fights at home. How is it going to believe a Sunday school teacher about love? No, in the infinite way, while I suppose that here and there are some teaching children in Sunday school, and more will go on, I will always claim this, that the message of the infinite way must be taught by example by the parent, the guardian. They must live it in their consciousness, and it will transmit itself to the child.